You ever see birds flying in a perfect V formation and just assume they're either extremely organized or part of some aerial government project nobody talks about? Because it doesn't really look like something that should happen naturally. It looks planned, coordinated, almost like someone gave them instructions before takeoff. And the weirdest part is, they're not even talking to each other in any way we understand, yet they still manage to maintain this weird floating arrow shape across entire skies. At first glance, you'd think it's some kind of leadership thing, like the strongest bird goes in front and everyone else just follows like a flying conga line. That would actually make sense in a simple way. But nature rarely chooses the simplest explanation that makes sense to humans. Instead, it chooses something slightly more annoying and more interesting at the same time. So the basic idea is this. When a bird flies, it pushes air down and backwards. That sounds useless at first, but that airflow actually creates something called an upwash zone, slightly behind and to the side of the bird. Now, if another bird positions itself in exactly the right spot in that airflow, it can reduce the amount of energy it needs to stay in the air. Basically, it's not following the leader emotionally, it's exploiting invisible physics for free fuel efficiency. Which immediately raises a question. How do they all know where that invisible airflow is? Because it's not marked. There are no signs in the sky saying, optimal lift zone starts here. Yet somehow, they consistently find the right position. And even more impressive, they don't just randomly cluster there. They distribute themselves in a structured pattern that actually maximizes group efficiency. Now here's where it gets more interesting. The V shape isn't just about one bird saving energy. It's about the entire system stabilizing itself. The front bird takes the hardest job because it breaks air resistance first. The ones behind it get partial energy savings, and the ones slightly offset also get benefits from the wingtip vortices created by the bird in front. So what you end up with is not a hierarchy in the traditional sense, but a rotating system of energy management, where positions are constantly adjusted so no single bird is permanently suffering. And yes, that means the leader position is not some permanent role. It's more like being assigned the worst seat on a plane that never lands. Except everyone takes turns suffering in the front because otherwise the system becomes inefficient. So the group behaves less like a team following a commander and more like a self-organizing energy-saving algorithm that just happens to have feathers. But now there's a deeper question that makes this even weirder. How does this coordination even evolve? Because birds are not calculating airflow equations mid-flight. There's no manual, no training course, no senior bird giving PowerPoint presentations on aerodynamic optimization. What actually happens is simpler and more unintelligent at the individual level, but more intelligent at the system level. Each bird is basically following one rule. Try to position yourself where flying feels slightly easier. That's it. No global plan, no strategy, just local optimization. But when every bird follows that same rule simultaneously, the group naturally organizes into a structure that looks incredibly intentional from the outside. This is one of those situations where intelligence is an illusion created by repetition. No bird understands the full pattern, but the pattern still emerges. And from a distance, it looks like coordination. Up close, it's just everyone trying to reduce effort without crashing into each other. And that's also why the formation is not always a perfect V. It shifts, breaks, reforms, stretches, compresses. It's not a rigid shape. It's a living optimization field that constantly adjusts based on wind conditions, fatigue, and position changes. If one bird gets tired, it moves out. If conditions change, the structure reshapes itself instantly without any central control system. So what looks like discipline is actually just distributed laziness working perfectly in sync. And if you zoom out even further, the whole thing becomes even more ironic. Humans see it and assume it represents unity, leadership, discipline, or some poetic idea about teamwork. But in reality, it's closer to a constantly updating energy-saving hack that evolved because physics rewards anything that reduces effort. So the next time you see a perfect V in the sky, it's not really a symbol of coordination or leadership or anything dramatic like that. It's just a group of birds collectively trying to make flying slightly less annoying, and accidentally creating one of the most visually organized patterns in nature while doing it.